What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is for March 3rd, 2025. And we had some really big moves in the market, not just today, but lately, which tend to generate some big opportunities. We had a great day in the market today overall. Found some great trade setups. I'm going to explain all of them to you. We're going to make these videos a little bit shorter, quick as possible. For those of you who are in our community, we're going to be doing some trade reviews tonight at 9:30. So if you have any trades that you took and you want to have one-on-one sessions essentially about them, please join us tonight. With that said, buy my book. It's a good one. It'll teach you how to do the things that I explain in these videos. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the charts and see what we got going on. Well, that is not the right chart now, is it? So let's go ahead and change this to here. There we are. All right, guys. Well, leading into the open, we were putting in lower highs. So naturally, we're looking for a line to cross that would trigger us to get into puts if we were looking for a quick trade. This is more beneficial for my futures traders because they don't have to wait for the market to open. So we do our call put lines, and a lot of them take these trades, especially if they happen before the market opens. But what we were looking for was a break of this white line on the Qs at 511.43, looking for the at least the blue line down, but preferably the orange one, whichever one, it doesn't matter. You had to be really quick to catch that. We did have some people in our community today that did catch that quickly, and then we hit that support and bounced right off. Now, the thing here is that we did draw a trend line, and the same rules apply, guys. And I'm going to say this stuff to you quickly, but just pay attention. We don't necessarily need to jump into calls simply because we break a trend line, unless there's justification for doing so. We'll explain a trade a little bit later in this video that we do break a trend line, and then we wait for the right reasons to get in, versus this one, well, momentum. Okay, momentum's a big deal. Most of the top 10 this morning was very green. The market had gapped up over Friday's close to today's open. So everything was pretty happy, was being the key word. Now, right at the open, quick put on both charts. Some people were one and done literally on the opening candle. I wasn't quick enough. My contracts didn't update soon enough in my option ladder, so there was nothing I could do about it. However, as we bounced off of that and moved back up to this trend line, I said to everybody, guys, I wouldn't attempt to buy puts at this trend line. I'm not going to. In fact, it's looking more like we're more likely to head up to that pre-market high of our call line, 512.50. And I say that because ADD is pushing up. So Qs pushed up, solid green candle off support. SPY, same thing, broke the trend line. I got into this trade shortly after this, and after saying I definitely wouldn't do puts, but it looks better to the upside. So I jumped into my calls. We got to our call line. ADD was still printing a big green candle, held on a little longer, got to our next line of resistance where I went ahead and took my profits. When Qs and SPY hit support or resistance at the same time, it's always a good time to consider taking profits. We hit resistance up here. Now, I'm not looking for puts yet, but at this point, for everybody who was in calls, I said, guys, I'm not really liking all the wicks that are on the tops of these candles here. We're at a resistance on both charts, big wicks on the tops. We're struggling to move higher. And then ADD started to struggle to move up, not before we started to move down on both charts. I want to make that clear because I was asked, Jimmy, would you have considered buying puts up here? The answer is no. Why would I not buy puts up here? Because ADD was still aggressively trending up. Okay. It wasn't until this candle right here and the acknowledgement of resistance and the wicks on top that I then said, guys, I'm ready for puts. I just want to see a break of support or, the put line, whatever it is. I ended up not even getting in here, but I got into the next candle very close to breaking the orange line because of lower highs. ADD was struggling to move up. SPY was coming off lower highs. SPY closed below support, breaking supports, cross the put lines, all the reasons for me to take a trade. even though I did get in a little bit later than a lot of other people. This trade ended up becoming a banger. By the way, this one here was a 15.4% win. And then we jumped into this one, or at least I did, and I know a bunch of other people did too. And first take profit point was when both Qs and SPY were hitting support at the same time. Okay, and at this time, still ADD hadn't started dumping yet, like it did shortly thereafter. And then I said, as long as we stay below 510.06, this line of resistance on the Qs, we're hoping to at least make it down to the next line of support, which we did. But if we close below that, we're looking for it to go down to the pink line. Told everybody while I was in that trade, if we get to the pink line, it's probably going to line up significantly close to being the pink line on both charts at the same time, i.e. we closed the gap. That's where I'm going to take my profits. So as we move down, we got to the pink line. I took myself out of the trade, which was kind of good because we had a 9:45 report as well, and I didn't really want to hold through a report. We hit that support. We bounced right off. Now, SPY ran right back up to its current resistance. Qs kind of closed above it. And ADD was starting to print some green candles after some nice red ones. I told everybody, and you won't see an arrow here, I would not personally buy these puts because this is a nice pullback. We did close above resistance, and ADD is showing some green candles at the time. I don't know what's going to happen, guys, but it doesn't matter to me. This is not a pullback that I would be willing to buy. Now, if we pulled back like this on both charts and ADD was still printing red candles, then I take that trade, okay? But since it wasn't, I missed out on what turned out to be a great opportunity. So the folks that did buy here, the first level that they're aiming for is the pink line. Why? Because that's the target we just came from, and that's the one that held. If we close below that, well, we're hoping to make it down to the next one, and so on and so forth. You guys know the rules. Then we said, oh, look, there's a lower high on Qs and SPY, and ADD is still going down. This looks good to the downside. Where are we going from here? I don't know. I said, but if we get a close below 507.63, I can tell you there's about a $3 space between support A and support B. I don't think we're going to make it down there because when do we see a $3 move? And damn it, it made it down there. So this circle's here. And again, I wasn't in this. I only took my two trades. My second trade right there was a 44.4% win. I was 2 and done today. But this trade here ended up being a banger, and I had people hold the entire time. Guys, I want to bring note to the fact that we went right to the next line down. Now, we did have a little bit of a pullback here. I told everybody if I was in this trade and we closed above this gap area right here, that would be my stop loss. Okay, so that's why this is here. Or if we got back above it. But as long as we stay below the resistance that is up here, we're still aiming for the next line down. Now, the other problem was you were going to be holding through a 10 o'clock report, which is not something I like to do either. So it's actually a good thing to consider taking your profits before then. But we have risk takers in our group, and they got rewarded today for taking that risk. This thing shot straight down. You had better be quick. But as you could see, the move was massive to the downside. Then we started to chop a little bit here. We recognized that we had a really strong support, a really strong resistance, and the simple rules were, guys, if we close below that green box, if you're holding on to calls, you're going to want to get out of that because then we're going to head most likely down to the next support down. If we close above the red box, we're most likely to head up to the next resistance up, which was first right here. So we close above this, we're looking for a move to this resistance. We close above that, we're looking for a move to the next resistance. We close above that, we're hoping for a move up to the next resistance. This is like clockwork. Pay attention to ADD. And after people got into this trade here and we were pulling up here, I said, guys, this is a profit target. Consider taking profits here if you'd like. We're at support or resistance on both charts at the same time. Nothing wrong with that. We pull back. We put in a higher low. That tells us we're more likely to break resistance. We break resistance and we head up to the next resistance high. Okay? The one thing that didn't happen is we didn't make it all the way up to here. We were hoping for 510.08 is what I was hoping for on that move up. We didn't get it. We got close to it, but not all the way up to it. Okay? And then we stalled out. We hit the pink line on SPY. We struggled to move higher. And ADD started to print some red again. And I said, well, if we get below this support right here, okay, so we're coming off a lower high. We broke the trend line. This is the trade I wanted to tell you guys. When do you want to be conservative? When do you want to be aggressive? First of all, on any trend line, when we close on the other side of it, whatever trend we were going. So in this case, we were looking for calls until 1032. Once we close that trend line below it, calls come off the table. It doesn't mean jump into puts, especially if ADD is still pushing green, okay? What we want to wait for is a break of the next support down. And as long as there's room to go from one support to the next, that's the route, the trade we're looking for. So calls come off the table at 1032. The very first time we closed below support of this support was at 1035. Now we want that support to become resistance, and we're aiming for the next support down. Guys, this was a 2-minute trade that produced a massive move to the downside. And I say massive. These things don't look big, but even if you waited for a candle close, that's 508.53 on the Qs, all the way down to what ended up becoming 507.13. That's a $1.40 move in 2 minutes. That's a huge paying trade. Okay, you don't have to sit in the market, especially markets like these, for very long to take advantage of some quick moves that pay very well. All right. After that, things got a little shisty. We put in a higher low here, so we were expecting this resistance to fail, and then because of that, we were expecting to go up to the next resistance. It did all that, but ADD. Well, at this point, a lot of people were done for the day, but things got a little bit crazy and sideways and uncomfortable, and so we had to wait for another setup. During this time, most of the group was done trading for the day. So somebody had asked me, who was still wanting to trade, Jimmy, will you draw a downtrend line here? And so I did that. As soon as we closed, and by the way, Big Bird, this one's for you. I shout out to Big Bird on this one, because otherwise I wouldn't have been looking for this setup, right? But the same rules apply. If we're trending down, we're looking for puts until we close on the other side of that trend line. Then puts come off the table. Now, if we break that trend line coming off of higher lows, then we have people who like to get into their calls before the normal rule of breaking the most recent resistance after the trend line. So that was not the case here. We just came off of a double bottom or a line of support down here, closed on the other side of the trend line, so puts are off the table. The next thing that we wait for is a breach or a close above the most recent resistance to the left after that, which is right here. And as long as there's room between resistance A and your next resistance up, that's the space we're trying to take. And what are we looking for? We want to see confluence between ADD, Qs, and SPY to take these trades. You want more factors in your favor, not less. Now, I didn't put the arrows in the circles here, but you'll see. Closed on the other side of the downtrend on both charts, broke the resistance on both charts, had room to go before resistance A, ADD's printing green. Let's go. So we get in, even if you wait for a candle close at 506.98, and your first target is 507.63. So again, a 70-cent move, with the understanding that if we close above that, we're looking for the next resistance up, which was 508.62. Guys, I'd stay in this if I was still trading. Why? Because ADD's printing big green candles. We're more likely to continue up through resistance than not, just because of momentum, but don't hold on to the trade without putting a stop loss in profit. Guys, this stuff works, okay? It works. And if you just pay attention to some of the rules, higher lows are bad for calls, lower highs are bad for puts, okay? No, sorry. Higher lows are bad for puts, lower highs are bad for calls, right? That just means that the sellers are getting stronger. So if you're looking for a reason to jump into puts, make sure that you're coming off lower highs. You're more likely to break support than you are to hold it. And as long as there's room between the support you're about to break and the next one down, then that's worth considering as a trade, especially if ADD is moving in the same direction. And this market is bleeding. I am glad I sold out of my dividend portfolio because it would be painful right now. However, that's all I got for you guys today. I know this video was supposed to be short. It is right about 16 minutes long. It's shorter than normal. If you get any useful information out of this video, guys, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd appreciate it. And like I said earlier, we're going to do live trade reviews tonight for the people in our Discord. You don't have to be a paying member, so if you're interested in that, please join us. Yeah, buy my book. It's useful, it's helpful, and no, I don't make a lot of money when you do. I make $3 per book, just to be clear. But if you got any useful information in this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, we'd love to have you. There is a link down below. It's completely free for the first 7 days. You have to do nothing but show up, okay? And then after that, if you like what you get for those 7 days, consider becoming a paying member and part of the family. But that's it for today. I hope you all had a fantastic day in the market. Till tomorrow, I love you guys.